Right, guys? Thank you so much for being here today. We are talking about your action versus the environment. Everyone is constantly telling each other that you're either playing the victim or you should just work harder and you should be fine. So let's talk about it. Which one is it? Is it your actions or your environment? And how does that work in with your life? Does the quality of your life depend on where you were born and who you were born to? Or is there something you can do to change it? So I'm going to tell you guys a story, my story, about how I moved out of my parents' house, and I hope this can help bring some clarity. So it's about a year ago, and it was a pandemic. I was planning on moving out, but I ended up not moving out because, I didn't want to risk, losing my job and not being able to pay my expenses when, there was a pandemic going on. And so I ended up just staying at my parents' place. We were locked down. I was chilling there. Here I am, a 24-year-old man. Not having a college education, but not pursuing the career that I initially wanted. I started to feel this feeling of not having that drive, not having that grit, getting soft almost. I'm living under the protection of my parents. I have free food. I don't have to hunt. I don't have to chase my dreams or do it. Like life became very, very easy, and it started. You would think that that would be nice for me, but it started to feel very, very unfulfilling. And so I really, really wanted to make a move and make a change. So as soon as I could, I started taking steps. I started taking action. I got my own car and I ended up getting my own place, got my job, ended up losing that job, had to get a different job. Thankfully, everything worked out and I'm still able to have my own place. So let's break down a little bit about what happened. You know, we're going to use an example of my physical health. I've been wanting to lose weight for a long, long time. And, living in my parents' place, this is not a knock against my parents. I love my parents. They did a fantastic job raising me. I couldn't be happier with their performance. And so, but, I had all this free food. It was free food. It was just free food everywhere. It was really good food. And my grandma would always bake stuff. So free food, free baked goods, like it was delicious. There was deliciousness everywhere. There was also sugar everywhere. And that was my environment. My environment made it very, very easy for me to consume sugar. It made it very difficult to not consume sugar. And it also made me feel very, very, like referencing what we felt before, less like a man, less like I'm not going out there, I'm not getting what I need, and I'm not hunting. It made me feel, you know, not very good. And so that's my environment. Now I took actions to change my environment, and now that I have to buy all of my own food on a budget because I have to take care of my expenses and be responsible, I had to make a choice. Like, what kind of food am I going to buy? Well, I buy eggs, rice, vegetables, and some beans, and that's about it. Also, milk. And so I was able to remove sugar from my diet quite drastically because I changed my environment, changed the nature of place in which I was living, made it very, very easy for me to perform the actions that led to me losing a lot of weight. I basically melted away over the past 3 months, and it has been awesome because I've been trying to do it for multiple years. So, what can we learn from this? Well, we're going to learn that, your actions do have an effect on you. You always have agency. You can always do things of your own fruition, but your environment does have an effect on you. Your environment can make it easier or more difficult for you to perform a certain set of actions. And so when we're thinking about this, it's not one or the other. It's both. It is and both. And so if you're in an environment in which makes it very, very difficult for you to be successful or for you to do things that you want to do in life, the actions that you take are probably going to have to start by just pushing against the environment, which means it's going to be very difficult to get off the ground. It's going to be a slow fall. And so you could do small actions. And so what I would recommend is learning to take control of your environment and make small changes so that the environment starts having a better effect on you, because the environment in which you are in can have a huge impact on how easy it is for you to perform said action. So it's actually a giant circle. Your actions affect your environment, and your environment affects your ability to perform certain actions. And so, when thinking about this, you have a choice to make. Like, are you in a good environment? Great. Start making those actions. You'll probably see things work for you a lot faster. But if you're someone who is born into a broken home, maybe in a more urban or ghetto part of town where there's a lot of poverty, a lot more crime, it will be a lot harder for you, because the environment can place an inhibitor or a damper on the effectiveness of your actions. And so it is a big circle, and it's all part of this big cycle that we have to play into, where I know my environment has an effect on me. And so if I want to reverse engineer what my future looks like, I should probably start reverse engineering what the ideal environment for me to take the actions to build that future would be as well. And you can start taking small actions to change your environment. And now some people are saying, well, my environment's too oppressive, it's too hard, I can't change my environment. Okay, watch this. Here's a pen. Look it up, put it down. Change my environment. It can literally start that small. I just read the book Tiny Habits. You can literally start that small. And so, of course, there is an advantage. Okay, your environment that you're born in does make an advantage. Okay, I'll freely admit, I was born into a really great home with parents that are still together and didn't have any sort of real suffering or trauma in my childhood. It's like, you don't think I'm going to have an advantage over a person who was born into a crime-infected neighborhood with poverty, with drugs, without a father? Of course I have an advantage. I don't apologize for that, because it's not my fault. I mean, I didn't choose where I was born, but I do acknowledge that, yeah, the environment that I was born into made it very, very easy for me to take certain actions to make myself more of a successful person. That doesn't mean the person who's born into a bad environment can't do it. They're just going to have a lot more things working against them. They're going to have to push a lot harder. They're going to have to take a lot more actions to get to where they need to be. So in this dichotomy conversation of, stop playing the victim. It's like, we see this a lot in the cancel and, in the culture wars that we're talking about, cancel culture and things like that. People talking about the strife that we're having in ethnic minority communities. There's a lot of conservatives out there. It's just be like, there's nothing wrong. It's your fault. Comply and you'll be fine. And they completely fail to acknowledge that, yes, the environment does have an effect on your ability to perform certain actions. Doesn't mean you can't, but it does have an effect. And then on the other side, we have a lot of liberals who are being like, the environment sucks, I'm completely helpless, I'm totally a victim, everybody should rush to my aid. It's like, of course, we should help people, but we're flip-flopping back and forth, and we're trying to fight for an extreme of one side of the circle, when again, it's actually all one big circle. It's all part of a whole. There's no need to be fighting about this. And, I'm not for dismissing other people's experience, and I'm not for being, a professional victim. I am for assessing the situation and saying, hey, look, this is what I'm capable of. Let's see if we could take action on this together and affect my environment and create a better future. And, if you're in a position where maybe you've done that already, just remember to have a little bit of compassion for people, because I do believe that there is a threshold in which no matter what you do, you're screwed. And he was like, no, there's no threshold. Everybody can pull themselves up from the bootstraps. Everybody can, make it. It doesn't matter about your environment. It's like, hold on. Let's do this, okay? You're going to walk up to a kid in Africa. He's starving, and you're like, whoa, clean your room. Everything will be fine. It's going to be like, I don't have a room. I have a hole. It's like, well, clean it. It's like, no, you wouldn't do that. Of course there's a threshold. Of course there is a bottoming out point in which people need help. They just need a hand. Now, I'm not claiming to be intelligent enough to know exactly what that threshold is. I think it's probably true that the threshold is slightly different from everybody, because our brains do play a role as well. We have a different temperament, different personalities, different psyches. So there's that as well. So, when thinking about these things, let's just remember to be a little bit compassionate and empathetic and understanding that people's environment does play a role on their success. I know this from personal experience. I changed my environment, and that led to me being more successful in the things I wanted to be in. And so, in that, while I'm a huge fan, I don't like victimhood. I don't like playing the victim. I'm a huge fan of entrepreneurship and stepping up and grinding and taking life by the horns and going after it. I also do want to be in a position to have empathy, kindness, and compassion for the people who were born in an environment which I have no experience in. And people who have faced trauma and problems that I have never had to experience. I want to have compassion and empathy while still believing in the power of the human spirit, while still believing in them that, like, yes, you can. I also want to acknowledge that, yeah, you're in a pretty bad place. Like, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you. If I can be of any help, like with this YouTube channel, but by all means, I'd like to be help. And of course, there is a lot of professional victims out there. Like, some people, they just take it way over the top. Like, you hear some people, you know who I'm talking about. It's like, oh, he held the door for me. That's a symbol of my oppression. It's like, what? Oh no, that's so awful. They held the door open for you. You're oppressed. It's so awful. Whatever will we do? If you want to see more videos like this, click the video right here, and we're going to talk a bit more about